Close your eyes. Take a long, slow breath in and let it go. There is nothing you need to do right now. Nothing you need to fix. Nothing you need to figure out. Nothing you need to become. The day is behind you. Whatever it held, the noise, the effort, the small disappointments and unexpected moments of grace, all of it is done now. All of it can rest. Tonight, we are going to travel together to a place very old and very quiet. A place that exists not in geography, but in understanding. A place that has been waiting for you, patiently, for as long as you have been alive, and perhaps longer. We are going to sit, for a while, at the feet of the Buddha. Not the golden statue in the temple, not the icon on the altar, but the man, the human being who, 2,500 years ago, sat down beneath a fig tree on the banks of a river in northern India, and simply refused to get up until he understood. Until he understood what? Everything. Nothing. The space between those two words is where we are going tonight. Let your body sink a little deeper into wherever you are resting. Feel the weight of your limbs. Feel how the earth is holding you, gently, without effort, the way it has always held you, the way it will always hold you. You are already held. You have always been held. The story begins with a prince. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, and he was born in the foothills of the Himalayas, in a kingdom called Kapilavastu, in what is now southern Nepal, around the 5th century BCE. His father was a king, or perhaps more precisely, a chieftain of the Shakya clan, a man of great power and great love for his son. When Siddhartha was born, a wise man came to see the child and made a prophecy. He said that this boy would become one of two things: either the greatest king the world had ever seen, or a great holy man who would wake the world from its sleep. His father, who loved his son and wanted him to inherit the kingdom, took no chances. He decided to give the boy everything, every pleasure, every comfort, every beautiful thing the world could offer. He built 3 palaces, one for each season, filled with music and dancing and feasting and silk and flowers and every kind of delight. He surrounded the boy with youth and beauty. He made sure that Siddhartha never saw anything old or sick or suffering. He built him a world without pain. For many years it worked. Siddhartha grew up beautiful and strong and skilled and happy inside the walls of his father's palaces. He married a woman named Yasodhara, whom he loved deeply. He had friends, pleasures, all the comfort that wealth and power could provide. But something was missing, something he could not name. Have you ever felt that? That quiet, persistent ache of something unnamed? That sense that beneath all the noise and activity and comfort, there is a question that has not been asked, a door that has not been opened. That was Siddhartha, inside his palace of pleasures. And one day, he asked his charioteer to take him outside the walls. What he saw there changed everything. He saw an old man, bent and slow, his body worn by decades of living. Siddhartha had never seen this before. He asked his charioteer, "What is this?" And the charioteer told him, "This is old age. This comes to everyone." On another day, He went out again and saw a sick man, feverish, suffering, lying by the road. He asked again, "What is this?" The charioteer told him, "This is sickness. This too can come to anyone." On a third day, he saw a corpse being carried to the cremation ground, and he understood for the first time that everyone dies, that his father would die, that Yasodhara would die, that he himself would die, that all the silk and music and flowers in his father's palace could not change this single, enormous fact. These are called the three sights, and they cracked Siddhartha's world open like an eggshell. But then, on a fourth journey, he saw something else. A wandering monk, a man with a shaved head and simple robes, walking slowly down the road with a begging bowl, his face calm and his eyes full of a quiet that Siddhartha had never seen in any of his palace companions. This man had nothing, and yet he seemed, somehow, at peace. This was the fourth sight, and it pointed Siddhartha toward a path. Let your breathing slow now. In and out. In and out. The night is quiet. There is nowhere to go, nowhere to be. Just this. Siddhartha left the palace. He left his wife and his newborn son. He left his kingdom and his future as a king. He walked out into the world with nothing but his robe and his question. The question was simple and enormous. Why do we suffer? And is there a way out? For 6 years he searched. He studied with the greatest spiritual teachers of his time. He mastered their practices, reached the heights of meditative absorption they could teach him, and found that it was not enough. The question remained unanswered. Then he tried the other extreme. He joined a group of ascetics, men who believed that the body was the enemy of the spirit, and that by punishing the body severely enough, the spirit would be freed. He starved himself until his ribs showed through his skin like the rafters of a ruined house. He held his breath until he fainted. He sat motionless in the scorching sun. He went as far as a human being could go in that direction. And still, the question remained. He was sitting by a river one evening, exhausted and near death from his austerities, when a young girl came by and offered him a bowl of rice milk. He accepted it, and in that simple act of receiving nourishment, of caring for his body, of choosing life over the drama of suffering, something shifted. He remembered a moment from his childhood, a day when his father had taken him to a ploughing festival. While the king performed the ceremonies, young Siddhartha had sat down beneath a rose apple tree, and, for no particular reason, had fallen into a state of perfect, effortless peace. His mind had become still, clear, present, not forced, not achieved through effort, just naturally quiet. He remembered that, and he understood something important. The answer was not going to be found through either extreme, neither through indulgence nor through punishment. There was a middle way, a path of balance and naturalness and gentle, patient attention. He walked to a great fig tree, the tree that would later be called the Bodhi tree, the tree of awakening, on the banks of the Neranjara river. He sat down. He resolved not to move until he understood. And he sat, and he breathed, and he watched. The tradition says that he sat for 49 days. Whether literally true or not, something happened under that tree that changed the world. Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha. The word Buddha simply means the awakened one, from the Sanskrit root bud, to wake up, to understand. He did not become a god. He did not acquire supernatural powers. He simply woke up from the dream that most of us are living in without knowing it. He saw something, clearly, completely, without distortion. What did he see? Let us sit with that question for a moment. Let it rest in the quiet of this night, not as something to be solved immediately, but as something to be felt toward, gently, without force. The Buddha saw the truth of impermanence. He saw that everything, every thought, every feeling, every sensation, every relationship, every object, every moment is constantly changing. Nothing holds still. Nothing lasts. Not the pleasant things and not the painful things. Everything is in motion. Everything is passing through. This seems simple. Obvious even. Of course everything changes. We know this. But the Buddha was pointing at something deeper than knowing. He was pointing at a direct, visceral, bone-deep recognition of impermanence. Not as an idea we agree with, but as a lived reality that we feel in every moment. Because here is what happens when we truly see impermanence. We stop clinging. And when we stop clinging, something enormous relaxes in us. Think about the suffering in your own life. Not the big, dramatic suffering, though that too, but the ordinary, daily friction. The frustration, the anxiety, the low-level dissatisfaction that colours so many ordinary moments. Almost all of it has the same root. We want something that is not here, or we don't want something that is here. We are resisting the moment as it actually is. We are pushing away discomfort, grasping at comfort, insisting that things be different from how they are. The Buddha called this tanha, craving, thirst, the endless reaching of the mind for something other than what is. And he saw clearly, not as a philosophy, but as a direct experiential insight, that this reaching is the source of suffering. Not the circumstances of our lives, not what happens to us, but the relationship of grasping and resisting that we bring to what happens to us. This is the second noble truth, and it changes everything if you truly understand it. Let your body relax now. Let the thoughts drift. You don't need to hold on to anything tonight. Not your worries, not your plans, not your carefully tended ideas about who you are and what you need. Just for now, just for these quiet hours, let it all be impermanent. Let it all pass through. The Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and taught for 45 years after his awakening. He walked the dusty roads of northern India, speaking to kings and farmers and outcasts and scholars, adapting his teaching to whoever was in front of him. He was said to be extraordinarily kind, patient, never in a hurry. His first teaching, given to 5 former companions in a deer park at Sarnath, is called the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the turning of the wheel of the Dharma. In it, he laid out what would become the foundation of everything, the 4 noble truths. The first noble truth is dukkha. usually translated as suffering, but the word is richer and more nuanced than that. It includes not just obvious suffering, pain, loss, grief, illness, but also the subtler dissatisfaction that runs through even pleasant experiences. The slight unease of knowing that this pleasant moment will end. The hollow feeling after getting what you wanted. The background hum of incompleteness that follows us through even our happiest days. Dukkha is the truth of the human condition. Not as a pessimistic judgment, as a clear-eyed observation. The second noble truth is the origin of dukkha. It is craving, tanha, the thirst for things to be other than they are. The third noble truth is the most important. The cessation of dukkha is possible. The Buddha was not a pessimist. He was, in a profound sense, the ultimate optimist. Because his third truth is this: there is a way out. The craving that causes suffering can be released. The grasping can be loosened. The suffering can end. Not through getting everything you want. Not through arranging the world to match your preferences, but through a fundamental shift in your relationship to experience itself. The fourth noble truth is the path, the Eightfold Path, the practical, livable, step-by-step way of cultivating this shift in yourself. We'll come back to the path, but first, let us sit with the third noble truth for a moment. The suffering can end. Not someday, not after you have fixed yourself and become a better person and meditated for 10,000 hours, but now, in this moment, in any moment in which you truly stop grasping and resisting and simply allow experience to be what it is. The Buddha had a word for this, nibbana, often translated as nirvana. It literally means extinguishing, like a flame going out. Not the extinguishing of the self, but the extinguishing of the craving. The flame of tanha, of endless thirst, going out. And what is left when that flame goes out? Not nothing. Not emptiness in the sense of absence. Something the Buddha consistently refused to describe, because he knew that any description would immediately become another thing to grasp at, another object for the mind to reach toward. He called it the unconditioned, the unborn, the deathless. He pointed at it in silence, and sometimes, in the silence between his words, people understood. Let your breath carry you deeper now. In and out. In and out. Each breath a small impermanence. Each breath arising and passing. Arising and passing. Like all things. You don't need to understand everything tonight. You don't need to reach any particular state. Just breathe. Just be here. Just let the words wash over you like warm water. The Eightfold Path is sometimes called the middle way, the path between indulgence and harsh austerity that the Buddha discovered on the banks of the river. It has 8 aspects, though they are not really steps to be taken one after another. They are more like 8 dimensions of a single, integrated way of being in the world. Right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Tonight, let us spend some time with just one of these, right mindfulness. Because mindfulness is the heart of the Buddha's teaching, the practice that makes all the others possible, and the one most directly relevant to the quiet hours of the night. Mindfulness, sati in Pali, the language the Buddha spoke, means remembering. Specifically, it means remembering to be present, remembering to be here, in this moment, with this breath, in this body, rather than lost in the stories and projections and memories that the mind continuously generates. The Buddha taught a practice called the Four Foundations of Mindfulness, and the first foundation is the body, just the body. Feel your body right now, not as an idea, not as an image, but as a living, breathing, feeling reality. Feel the weight of it, the warmth of it, the subtle movements of breath within it. The chest rises, the chest falls, the belly expands, the belly softens. This is happening right now, without your management, without your effort. Life is breathing you, and your only job in this moment is to notice. The Buddha said, when breathing in, know that you are breathing in. When breathing out, know that you are breathing out. That's all. That simple. That complete. But in this simple act of knowing the breath, truly knowing it, with your full, gentle, unhurried attention, something extraordinary happens. The mind that is always running ahead of itself, always planning, always worrying, always narrating, comes back to now. It lands in the body. It rests. And in that resting, there is peace. Not a peace you have manufactured, not a peace you have earned, just the peace that was always already here, underneath the noise of the running mind. Feel that now if you can. The quiet that is already here. The stillness that was here before you started thinking, and will be here after the last thought passes. Breathe into it. There was a monk who came to the Buddha with a question that many people carry without knowing how to ask it. He said, I have been practicing for many years. I meditate. I follow the precepts. I try to be mindful. And yet I still suffer. I still get angry. I still feel lonely and afraid. What am I doing wrong? The Buddha listened, and then he asked the monk a question in return. He said, when you are angry, where does the anger live? The monk thought about it. In my heart, he said. In my mind. The Buddha said, show me your heart. Show me your mind. Bring them here, and I will heal them. The monk sat with this for a long moment, and then he understood. He could not show the Buddha his heart or his mind, not because they didn't exist, but because they were not fixed things. They were not objects. They were processes. They were events happening in awareness, and awareness itself was not a thing that could be picked up and examined. In trying to find the suffering, in truly looking for the sufferer, the solid, fixed, permanent self that the anger was happening to, he found something surprising. He couldn't find it. Not because it wasn't real in some sense, but because it wasn't what he thought it was. It wasn't solid. It wasn't fixed. It was more like a river than a rock. This is one of the Buddha's most radical and most liberating teachings. The teaching of anatta, or non-self. The self, as we normally experience it, as a fixed, permanent, isolated entity that exists independently of everything around it, is a construction, a habit of mind, a story that experience keeps telling about itself. This doesn't mean you don't exist. It doesn't mean there is nobody home. It means that what you are is far more fluid, far more interconnected, far more vast than the small, defended, anxious thing you usually take yourself to be. The self is not a noun. It is a verb. Not a thing, but a process. Not an island, but a river. Always connected to its source. Always flowing toward the sea. Always exchanging water with the rain and the clouds and the underground springs. When you truly feel this, not as a philosophy, but as a lived experience, something loosens. The defending relaxes. The constant effort to protect and promote and maintain the self relaxes. Because there is nothing that needs defending in the way you thought. You are much bigger than you thought, and also much lighter. Let your jaw relax now. Let your forehead soften. Let the muscles around your eyes release. You don't need to hold your face in any particular shape tonight. There is no one watching. Just rest. The Buddha taught extensively about the mind. He called the untrained mind a wild elephant, powerful, unpredictable, destructive, running wherever impulse takes it. And he taught that the trained mind, the mind that has been gently, patiently schooled in awareness, is the greatest gift a human being can give themselves. But here is something important. The training he taught was not a form of violence against the mind. It was not about forcing the mind to be still, suppressing thoughts, or white-knuckling your way to peace. It was more like befriending a wild animal, patiently, consistently, with kindness, without force. The Pali word for this quality of patient, gentle, consistent attention is metta, often translated as loving kindness. And it was, for the Buddha, not just a meditation practice, but a fundamental orientation toward all of life. Metta means wishing well. Genuinely, warmly, without condition. Wishing for the well-being and happiness of all beings, including yourself. The Buddha taught a meditation practice built around metta that begins not with sending love outward to the world, but with directing it inward, toward yourself. Because he understood that the difficulty most people have with genuine compassion for others comes from a lack of genuine compassion for themselves. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Simple words. But when they are meant, when they are felt rather than just recited, they have the power to dissolve the hardness that years of self-criticism and self-neglect have built up in the heart. Try it now, quietly, inside yourself. Just the feeling of it. Not the words necessarily, but the intention behind them. Wishing yourself well, genuinely, as you would wish a dear friend well. May you be at peace tonight. May your rest be deep and healing. May you wake tomorrow softer and more rested than you are now. The Buddha taught that there are 5 aggregates, 5 categories of experience that we bundle together and call self. Form, which is the body. Feeling tone, which is the subtle quality of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral that accompanies every experience. Perception, which is recognition and naming. Mental formations, which are the thoughts and emotions and intentions that arise. And consciousness, which is the bare awareness that knows all of these. None of these on their own is the self, and their combination is not the self either. At least, not the fixed, permanent, isolated self we usually take ourselves to be. What we are, the Buddha suggested, is more like a flame. Not the wax, not the wick, not the oxygen, but the process of burning. The dynamic, moment-to-moment interaction of all these elements. Always changing, always dependent, always impermanent. And like a flame, we are not diminished by giving light. We are not depleted by illuminating the people and places around us. The flame does not run out by shining. You are that, the shining itself. Let that rest in you now. The body is heavy. The thoughts are drifting. The night is doing its ancient, patient work. There is a teaching in the Theravada tradition about the heavenly messengers. The Buddha said that life sends us 3 great messengers, and most of us turn away from all 3. The first messenger is old age. Not someone else's old age, our own. The gradual, inevitable changing of this body that has been with us since birth. The second messenger is sickness, the vulnerability of the body, the way it can be brought low so quickly, so unexpectedly. The third messenger is death, not as a punishment or a failure, as an honest, clear-eyed recognition of what is true about every living thing. The Buddha said that these messengers come to us not to frighten us, but to wake us up, to interrupt the dream of permanence that we are so comfortable in, to remind us that this life, this specific, unrepeatable, extraordinary life, is happening right now, and it is finite, and therefore precious. Most of us, when we feel the touch of these messengers, do what Siddhartha's father did. We build walls. We look away. We distract ourselves with noise and activity and the constant postponement of the moment when we will have to truly face what is. The Buddha's invitation was different. He said, "Look. Don't look away. Look clearly, with open eyes and open heart, at the truth of impermanence. Because in looking, truly looking, not flinching, you discover something extraordinary. You discover that you are not as fragile as you thought. You discover that impermanence, rather than being a reason for grief and anxiety, can be the most profound liberation. Because if everything passes, including the pain, then nothing needs to be feared in the way you have been fearing it, including death." The Buddha was not morbid. He was one of the most joyful presences in all of human history, by all accounts. He laughed. He delighted in the world. He was deeply present to beauty and kindness and the small, unexpected moments of grace that fill an ordinary day.
But his joy was not the brittle joy of someone trying very hard to be happy. It was the unshakable ease of someone who had truly looked at impermanence and found, on the other side of that looking, a peace that does not depend on anything. That peace is available to you. It does not require years of practice or a special state of consciousness. It is here, right now, in this breath, in this moment of simply being alive and awake enough to receive these words. Feel it. Even just the edge of it. Even just the faintest taste. There is a story about a woman named Kisa Gotami, whose young son died. She was destroyed by grief, so consumed by it that she refused to believe the child was dead.
At her with great compassion. He said, "I," at her with great compassion. He said, "I can help you, but first, bring me a mustard seed from a house where no one has died." Kisagotami set off immediately, full of hope. She went to the first house and asked for a mustard seed. They had one. But had anyone in this house died? Yes, the grandfather last year. She moved on. She went to house after house after house. Every house had mustard seeds. Every house had known death. By evening, she understood. She returned to the Buddha without a mustard seed. But she had laid her son's body down. She had been able, finally, to let him go. Because she had seen, through her own direct experience, that death is universal, that grief is the common inheritance of every human being who has ever loved anything. She was not alone in her loss. She had never been alone. The Buddha did not take away her grief, but he gave her something more valuable. He gave her the company of all grieving humanity. He gave her the understanding that her suffering, rather than isolating her, was the thing that connected her most deeply to every other person who had ever lived and loved and lost. This is what the Buddha called the near shore and the far shore. The near shore is where we live, in the world of suffering and confusion, of craving and aversion, of birth and death and loss. The far shore is the other side. Nibbana, liberation, the end of suffering. The Dharma, his teaching, is the raft, not the destination, but the vehicle that carries you across. And here is the beautiful thing he always emphasized. Once you have crossed, you do not carry the raft on your head, you put it down. Even the teaching, even the Dharma, is something to be used and then released. Even the Buddha himself is something to be honored and then let go of. Tightness in the belly. Every slight tightness in the belly, every slight contraction around the heart. Just let it go. You don't need to carry anything across this night. The night will carry you. The Buddha spoke often of interconnection, of the way that nothing exists in isolation, the way everything arises in dependence on conditions, the way the boundary between self and world is far more permeable than we imagine. He called this teaching pratitya samutpada, dependent origination, the understanding that all phenomena arise in dependence on other phenomena. Nothing exists from its own side, in isolation, independent of everything else. The flower does not exist without the sun, and the rain, and the soil, and the seed, and the gardener, and the whole history of the universe that brought all of these together in this moment. The thought you just had does not exist without the brain that generated it, and the experiences that shaped that brain, and the genes that built it, and the ancestors who carried those genes, and the stars that forged the elements in their burning hearts billions of years ago. You are not separate from any of this. You are woven from all of this. Every breath you take contains atoms that have been breathed by every human being who has ever lived. The iron in your blood was forged in the heart of a dying star. The water in your cells has been rain and ocean and ice and river and cloud again and again since the earth was young. You are ancient. You are vast. You are made of everything. And when you feel lonely, when the small defended self contracts around its aloneness and its separateness and its sense of being cut off from the warmth and connection it needs, you can come back to this. You are not separate. You have never been separate. Separation is the dream. Connection is the reality. The Buddha said, "In the seeing, just the seen. In the hearing, just the heard. In the tasting, just the taste. In the touching, just what is touched. In the knowing, just what is known." This is the instruction for right now. In the hearing of this voice, just the heard. In the feeling of the breath, just the sensation. No story about it. No judgment. No reaching for something else. Just this. Just exactly this. The thoughts are growing slower now, more spacious. The gaps between them are widening, like the spaces between stars on a clear night, vast and quiet, and full of a peace that has no name. There is a quality the Buddhist tradition calls samadhi, concentration, but not the forced, strained concentration of someone trying very hard. The natural, effortless, settled concentration of a mind that has stopped fighting itself. Like water that has been shaken and then allowed to settle. Not forced to be still, not commanded to be clear, just allowed, just given space and time and quietness. And it settles, naturally, inevitably, the way water always settles when it is no longer disturbed. You are settling now. Feel it. The shaking is slowing. The turbulence is calming. The surface of the mind is becoming still. And in the stillness, you can see all the way to the bottom. The bottom is clear. The bottom is luminous. The bottom is not the bottom at all. It opens into something without depth, without limit, without end. The Buddha called this the luminous mind, the chitta that is naturally bright, naturally aware, naturally free. It is not something you create through meditation. It is what you are when you stop adding obscurations to it. Like the sun that is always shining, even when clouds cover it. The sun doesn't need to be fixed. The clouds need to part. And right now, in this quiet, in this dark, the clouds are parting. The luminous mind is right here. You are right here. The last teaching I want to offer you tonight is perhaps the simplest and the most profound. It is something the Buddha said near the end of his life, when he was old and his body was failing, and his closest attendant, Ananda, was weeping at the thought of losing him. The Buddha said, "Ananda, be a lamp unto yourself. Be your own refuge. Take refuge in the truth. Do not look for refuge in anyone but yourself. Be a lamp unto yourself. Not because teachers and teachings are not valuable. Not because community and connection are not important. But because the awakening you are looking for cannot be given to you by anyone else. It can only be found in your own direct experience, in your own clear seeing, in your own moment-to-moment attentiveness to what is actually here. You already carry the lamp. It has been burning inside you your whole life. Sometimes the world is noisy enough that you can't see it. Sometimes the stories in your head are vivid enough that it seems hidden. Sometimes the craving and the fear and the busyness are thick enough to block its light. But it is always there. It has never gone out. It cannot go out. The Buddha called it Buddha nature, the seed of awakening that exists in every living being, waiting for the right conditions to bloom. Not a distant possibility, not something you have to earn, but something that is already, right now, your deepest nature. Feel for it now, not with effort, not with straining, just a gentle, curious attention turned inward. Beneath the thoughts, beneath the feelings, beneath the plans and the worries and the memories. Something aware, something quiet, something that has been watching all of this, all the movement of your life, with infinite patience and infinite gentleness, from before you can remember. That is the lamp. That is you. Be a lamp unto yourself. The Buddha died at the age of 80, lying between two sala trees that burst into bloom out of season, as if the earth itself was paying tribute. His last words, spoken quietly to the monks gathered around him, were these: All conditioned things are impermanent. Work out your salvation with diligence. All conditioned things are impermanent. The trees, the stars, the mountains, the thoughts passing through your mind right now, the breath you just exhaled, the day that just ended, the person you were 10 years ago, all of it impermanent, all of it passing through. Work out your salvation with diligence, not with strain, not with harshness, but with patient, consistent, loving attention to your own direct experience, with the willingness to look clearly at what is, with the courage to let go of what is not. That is the whole teaching. In that vast, open, luminous awareness that you already are, everything arises and passes. Everything comes and goes. The joys and the sorrows, the successes and the failures, the love and the loss, the days and the nights, all of it passing through, all of it impermanent, all of it, in the end, just this moment, just this breath, just this quiet. The Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, and the world became still. You are lying in the dark, and the world is becoming still. There is more similarity in these two moments than you might think. Breathe in, breathe out. The mind is quiet now. The thoughts are almost gone. There is just the awareness, wide and open, like a clear night sky. Stars are moving in their ancient circles above you. The earth is turning, slowly and steadily, carrying you through the dark toward morning. Your heart is beating. Your cells are renewing. The deep intelligence of the body is doing everything it knows how to do. And you, the you that is more than the body, more than the thoughts, more than the story, you are simply here. Luminous, aware, at peace. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. May your sleep be deep and healing. May you wake tomorrow with something of this peace still in you, a faint but inextinguishable ember of the quiet you have touched tonight. The Buddha bows to you. Across 25 centuries of time and 10,000 miles of distance, the old monk sitting under the fig tree bows to the awareness in you. The same awareness, the same luminous mind, the same unborn and undying nature that he found in himself on that long ago night. You are not separate from that. You never have been. Rest now. Let the night hold you. Let the breath breathe you. Let the awareness be aware, effortlessly, naturally, without your help. You are already home. You have always been home. Sleep. The salad trees are blooming in the dark. The river is flowing. The lamp is burning. And you are the light. Sleep. Sleep deeply. Sleep well. The night deepens around you. Let it deepen. Let the darkness become softer, warmer, more familiar. The darkness is not emptiness. It is fullness of a different kind. The fullness of rest. The fullness of not doing. The fullness of simply being alive in the quiet hours when the world has stopped demanding things of you. The Buddha spoke of a quality called upekkha, equanimity, one of the 4 Brahmaviharas, the 4 divine abodes, the 4 qualities of heart that, when cultivated, transform the way we move through the world. The 4 divine abodes are metta, loving-kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, sympathetic joy, and upekkha, equanimity. We spoke of metta earlier. Let us rest now in upekkha. Equanimity is not indifference. It is not the coldness of someone who has stopped caring. It is something far more alive than that. It is the stability of a deep-rooted tree that can bend in the wind without being uprooted. It is the stillness of the ocean floor while the surface storms above. The Buddha described a person with true equanimity like this. Whether they are praised or blamed, whether they gain or lose, whether they are honored or dishonored, whether they experience pleasure or pain, the mind remains steady, clear, unshaken. Not because they feel nothing, but because they feel everything without being swept away by it. Imagine what that would be like. To feel fully. To feel joy without clinging to it. Grief without being destroyed by it. Anger without being consumed by it. Love without the desperate grasping that so often accompanies it. To feel everything and to remain in the center of all of it, somehow steady. This is what the practice cultivates. Not in one sitting, not in one lifetime perhaps, but gradually, patiently, like water finding its way through stone. Each time you notice that your mind has been swept away by a thought or a feeling, and you gently, without judgment, bring it back, that is equanimity training. Each time you meet an unpleasant experience with curiosity rather than aversion, that is equanimity training. Each time you allow a pleasant experience to be what it is, without grasping at it, that is equanimity training. You are always training. Every moment of your life is an opportunity to practice this. Even now, even in sleep, especially in sleep, because sleep requires a form of equanimity. It requires the willingness to let go of control, to stop managing, to surrender the waking self to something larger and more mysterious. Every night, whether you know it or not, you practice dying a small death. You lay down your daytime identity, your plans and worries and roles and relationships, and you dissolve into something else for a while. And every morning you reconstitute. You come back. You pick up the identity again and carry it into the new day. The Buddhist tradition sometimes uses this as a metaphor for the deeper liberation they point toward. Nibbana is not something that happens after death. It is something that can happen right now, in any moment of true letting go. The letting go you are practicing right now, in this dark and quiet, is not so different. Let yourself dissolve a little. Let the edges soften. Let the firm boundary between you and the rest of the universe become a little more permeable. You are not endangered by this. You will come back. But for now, dissolve. There is a beautiful teaching in the Zen tradition, which grew from the Buddha's original insight and traveled through China and then Japan, that I want to share with you. A student came to a master and asked, "What is Buddha?" The master said, 3 pounds of flax. Another student asked the same question. The master said, "The cypress tree in the courtyard." Another asked. The master said nothing, just held up one finger. These answers seem nonsensical, and that is exactly the point. They are designed to short-circuit the thinking mind, the mind that wants to categorize and define and reduce everything to a concept that can be held and examined. Because Buddha cannot be held. Buddha cannot be examined from the outside. Buddha is what you are when you stop looking for it. 3 pounds of flax, the cypress tree in the courtyard, the breath going in, the breath going out. Right now, this, exactly this. A Zen master named Huang Po said, "The foolish reject what they see, not what they think. The wise reject what they think, not what they see." What are you seeing right now? Not with your physical eyes, those are closed and resting, but with the awareness that is always seeing, always knowing, always present whether the eyes are open or closed, whether the mind is busy or quiet. What is here? Warmth, weight, breath, the sound of the night outside, the faint feeling of the body against whatever it is resting on, the slow, steady rhythm of being alive. This is it. This is the whole thing. The Buddha taught for 45 years because human beings are complicated and the mind needs many different approaches, many different doors. But every teaching, from the most elaborate philosophical analysis to the simplest instruction to breathe, was pointing at the same thing. This, right here, right now. The present moment, met with open, gentle, non-judgmental awareness. That's it. That is the entire path. You are already on it. The monk Thich Nhat Hanh, one of the great Buddhist teachers of the 20th century, used to say, "The present moment is the only moment available to us, and it is the door to all moments." Think about that. The present moment is the door to all moments. Not because the past and future don't matter, but because the only place you can ever actually be is now. The past exists as memory, which means it exists now, as a present memory. The future exists as anticipation, which means it exists now, as a present anticipation. Everything happens now, including rest, including healing, including the deep, nourishing sleep that your body is reaching for right now. It is all here, in this breath, in this moment. Let yourself arrive, fully, completely, here. There is another teaching I want to offer you, from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. A tradition that took the Buddha's original insight and developed it into an extraordinarily rich and detailed map of the mind and its liberation. The Tibetans speak of Rigpa, pure awareness, the natural state of the mind before it is caught up in concepts and projections and the endless commentary of the thinking self. Rigpa is not a special state you have to achieve. It is what is always already here, looking through your eyes, hearing through your ears, knowing through your knowing. The awareness that is aware. You cannot see it the way you see an object, because it is what is doing the seeing. You cannot think about it the way you think about an idea, because it is what is doing the thinking. But you can rest in it. You can recognize it. You can stop overlooking it in your rush to look at everything else. The Tibetan teachers use a metaphor: the sky and the clouds. Rigpa is the sky. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, stories. These are the clouds. The clouds are real. They arise in the sky. They drift through the sky. Sometimes they cover the sky so completely that you forget the sky is there. But the sky is always there, unchanged, unchangeable, vast beyond imagining. You are the sky, not the clouds. Rest as the sky now. Let the clouds drift. Let the thoughts drift, the feelings drift, the sensations come and go, and simply be the open space in which all of this is happening. You don't need to push the clouds away. You don't need to hold on to them. You don't even need to look at them particularly. Just be the sky, wide, open, boundless, at rest. A student once asked the great Tibetan master Tilopa for the secret of enlightenment. Tilopa said, "No thought, no reflection, no analysis, no cultivation, no intention. Let it settle itself. No thought, no reflection, no analysis, no cultivation, no intention. Let it settle itself." That is the instruction for right now. for these quiet hours, for this particular form of practice that happens in the dark, between waking and sleep, when the thinking mind is loosening its grip and something more essential is beginning to surface. No thought, no reflection, no analysis, no cultivation, no intention. Let it settle itself. The mind knows how to settle. It has always known. What it needs is not more technique, not more effort, not more trying. What it needs is permission. Permission to stop. Permission to rest. Permission to simply be. You have that permission. You have always had that permission. It was never withheld from you, except by the part of you that was too busy trying to give itself permission, to notice that permission was never needed in the first place. You are already free. The Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and looked for what was causing his suffering. He looked and looked with the clearest, most penetrating attention he could bring. And at the moment of his awakening, he is said to have laughed. Not a bitter laugh, not a laugh of disbelief, a laugh of recognition. The laugh of someone who has been searching the whole house for their glasses, only to discover them on their own face. The freedom was here all along. The peace was here all along. The luminous, awake, compassionate nature was here all along. Not somewhere to be reached, not something to be earned, but the very ground of every moment of experience. The sky in which every cloud of thought and feeling had been arising and passing. How could it have been otherwise? How could you be anything other than what you fundamentally are? All the searching, all the striving, all the exhaustion of trying to become something you imagined you were not. And then, the laugh of recognition. Oh, here. It was always here. Maybe you have touched this in your own life. In a moment of unexpected stillness, standing in a garden, or by the ocean, or looking up at the night sky, when the busyness suddenly fell away, and there was just this extraordinary, ordinary moment, alive and complete, and asking nothing of you. That is what the Buddha spent 45 years trying to point people toward. That moment you've already had. That moment that is happening right now. The breath going in. The breath going out. The awareness knowing both. The night holding everything in its wide, dark, patient embrace. This is it. This has always been it. Breathe. The body is very heavy now. The limbs are warm and still. The thinking mind is quieting, its voice growing softer and more distant. Like a radio playing in another room, the words no longer quite distinct. What remains when the words fade? Awareness. Pure, simple, effortless awareness. Not yours, not mine, not anyone's in particular. Just awareness, aware of itself. The way a flame illuminates itself in the very act of illuminating everything else. The Buddha called this the Tathagata, the one who has thus come, thus gone. The one who moves through the world without leaving tracks, without clinging to anything, without being diminished by anything. You are practicing this tonight, moving through sleep without gripping, letting the day go without mourning it, letting the night come without fearing it. Allowing the consciousness to do its mysterious work without interfering. This is already an act of wisdom. This is already the path. There is a prayer. Not quite a prayer, more of a wish, a direction, that the Buddhist tradition calls the dedication of merit. At the end of a period of practice, you offer whatever good has arisen from it outward, to all beings. By the merit of this practice, may all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings never be separated from joy that knows no grief. May all beings live in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. All beings, not just the ones you love, not just the ones you agree with, not just the ones who have been kind to you. All beings, the ones who are suffering right now on the other side of the world, the ones who are afraid, the ones who are confused, the ones who have hurt you and don't know why, the ones who have never been taught that they are anything more than the small, defended, frightened self they have been performing since childhood. All of them, right now, somewhere on this earth, are breathing. Their hearts are beating. The same luminous awareness is looking out through their eyes that is looking out through yours. They are you in different clothes. You are them in different circumstances. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. Let that wish move through you now, softly, like a warm wind. Not as an obligation, not as performance, just as a natural expression of the heart that has been touched tonight by something old and gentle and true. The Buddha's compassion was said to be boundless, not because he was special, not because he was different from you or me, but because he had seen, clearly and completely, the shared nature of all suffering, the common ground of all experience, the single sky in which all clouds arise. And from that seeing, compassion arose naturally, not as an effort, not as a virtue he practiced, but as the spontaneous expression of a mind that had stopped dividing the world into self and other. This is available to you. Not all at once, not perfectly, but in small moments, in ordinary instants of genuine connection, when you truly hear someone's pain, when you recognize in a stranger's eyes the same longing and confusion and hope that you carry in yourself. In those moments, the boundary dissolves a little. The compassion flows a little more freely. And the world becomes, fractionally, less lonely. For you, for them, for everyone. The night is very deep now. The stars are moving in their slow, eternal circles. The earth is breathing, as it always has, as it always will. And in some quiet place in northern India, 2,500 years ago, a man sat under a fig tree and understood something so simple and so vast that it is still reverberating through the world today, still finding its way into hearts that are ready to receive it. You are ready. You have been ready for longer than you know. The teaching has found you tonight, in this darkness, in this quiet,
in this simple act of lying still and breathing and letting the day go. May you carry something of it with you, not as a concept, not as a set of rules to follow, but as a faint, warm, living ember, a small light in the center of you that knows, even when the mind has forgotten, that peace is possible, that it is, in fact, your most natural state, that it is here, always, underneath everything, always here,
waiting. Patient as the Bodhi tree, vast as the sky, warm as the lamp that never goes out. Sleep now. Let the awareness rest in itself. Let the breath breathe itself. Let the body do what it does in the dark, so wisely, so effortlessly, so beyond the reach of your management. The Buddha is here, not as a distant figure in a temple, but as the awareness that is aware of these words, as the knowing that is knowing this breath, as the light that has been burning in you, quietly, patiently, since before you had a name. That light is the Buddha. That light is you. Rest in it. Sleep in it. Wake in it. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings know the peace that is already theirs, including you, especially you. Right now, in this breath, in this moment, in this beautiful, impermanent, extraordinary life. Sleep. The sala trees are blooming. The river is flowing. The lamp is burning. And you are the light. Always have been. Always will be. Sleep well. Sleep deep. Sleep and let the great Dharma carry you through the night, as it always has, as it always will, gently, inevitably, home.